All right, so we're going live. If everything's working correctly, we're on Facebook. We're even on YouTube as well. And I'm here with Nate Morse. And Nate is he's a good friend. He's obviously a teammate, trains jiu-jitsu. He's out of Palm Jiu-Jitsu in Saginaw. And I'm excited to have you on, Nate. I know we were supposed to get together, and we had to reschedule a couple times, but I'm glad we were finally able to make it happen. So welcome.
Thanks, David. Glad to be here.
No, what, brother? So let's get right into it. I'm excited because you have it's not a simple answer of like I'm a realtor, I'm a sales, so let's go into what you do for work and how you got into it.
Okay. Yeah, so they're more of hiring us to solve a problem. And so the problem is most websites, so let's say like you were saying realtors. So if you look at a real estate website, a lot of times it's going to have all of the houses that it has for sale, and you can sort them any way you want. Now, if you were to go into their physical location, the experience would be, let's say that you wanted to buy houses for families, and you say, okay, I have 4 kids, and I want to see a house that's like, what's the best one in terms of like commuting to school. They would sit you down with someone, get down all your wants and needs and your contact information, and they would start a relationship and follow up with you. But if you go to their website, they are basically going to say, here's everything that we have. You can sort it any way you want. But in terms of figuring out which one is right for you, you're kind of on your own. So don't try to connect with us until you've picked one out that you want to go look at. And you've kind of narrowed down to that. So that results in businesses losing a lot of business because the basically shoppers have to go elsewhere to go through that research and discovery process. So we create an experience on their website that connects with those stages of shoppers that are in those discovery phases, which gives the business a lot more leads. It gives them a lot more conversations because we'll have a way that kind of follows up with them automatically to get them to engage in a two-way conversation, and then ultimately more sales from that. So that's it. And it started when I was young, when I was a kid, started doing web development, and was kind of just trying to figure out like, okay, what's the purpose of this? And it's really to connect with the people that are visiting it. So, as I got older, I kind of worked in every stage of the sales process. So I had a job doing door to door, just getting leads. And then after that, I worked at a phone sales company where people were coming in the door, and I had to sell them. And then after that, I worked at a car dealership, and that one there were no leads coming in, and so that one I actually did pretty bad at, and that did not work out that well. But that kind of gave me like a chip on the shoulder of like, okay, like where are the people? Found out later that there's like a ton of people on their website, and they're not even like connecting with them. So, anyways, that's what it started.
And so that was kind of my next question is, do you find that there's a certain industry that like desperately needs help in this, in terms of what you do? Like, is there like that's an industry where their websites are notoriously not customer friendly? They're either overwhelming or like, here, you do it, you find out what you need, and then, we'll cash you out whenever you're ready. Like, is there an industry that's pretty common that you work with?
Yes. Yeah. So it'd be more of on a scale of kind of the buyer's journey. And let's say it's in terms of like how much research needs to be done. So like if you're shopping and you're looking at let's say that you're looking at shampoo, like you're probably not going to go through like there's not going to be like a huge research process for the shampoo. There's not like much risk in just buying it and going with it, because you just get a different one later, right? But if you're going to buy a house, or you're going to buy a car or something expensive, there's a way longer research and discovery process in that. And so there's a higher chance of you making a mistake, and so you're going to do more research. And so if the businesses that we see, we could say it's like I don't know, be the right way to put their website, but it's all kind of like a classified setup where it has everything that they have for sale, and then it's basically contact us and what they have. And so any business that I would say gets like 10,000 or more visitors per month, and sells items like that, chances are is that they need that. They're gonna be the biggest ones because there's so many people coming to the site and they're paying so much. Like there's some businesses where they're paying like, let's say they're paying 10, 20 grand a month to get people there, but they're only converting 1 or 2%. Like that's not, so if we go in and we can double or triple how many people they connect with and just fill their pipeline and give them better information for the shoppers, we can talk about that later. Like that's a ton of ROI. So a lot of times they'll just shave off an amount, give it to us, and then we give them way more, and like then they're set. So it's a big difference in terms of like how many shoppers they get, because that's what their salespeople should be. They should be trying to get as many opportunities as possible.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think that's where paid. You mentioned paid ads a little bit, and paid ads yeah, they work. But and I see a lot of your content. It's all like, oh, we're not getting enough leads. Let me throw more money at the problem. And it's like, wait a second. Like I know, and I didn't know that. I mean, 1 or 2% is. I mean, that's.
So it's for websites. For those companies, it's for the websites. If you're talking about like landing pages, a good landing page should convert at like 50% or more. So yeah, that would be terrible. But
yeah, okay, gotcha. But
yeah.
But that, and that's where a lot of them, and I think that websites they do tend to get slept on, or like you put it really well. Like they're just a digital brochure. Like okay, here's what we offer.
They get referred to, but that's like pretty much it. And then nobody's considering the opportunity is that like everybody's living on their phones, so like they're there all the time, and you can get in front of them. So you're either spending money and losing out on it, or you're just losing out on opportunities, and it's just low hanging fruit. There's just no reason like not to.
They and how long? So obviously you own, and what's the name of your company, Nate?
Journey Convert.
Journey Convert. And how long has Journey Convert been open?
We've been open for a little bit over 4 years. I started February of 16. I have to see, it's on my LinkedIn.
Journey Convert. So you've been open 4 years, but you've been doing this. I mean, you've been doing web design, been around startups since you mentioned like you grew up doing it, right? You did it with your dad, and
there's some incubators in the area. So yeah, when I was a kid, I did the web development, and then there were some incubators in the area. And when I was doing sales, I was reading a lot of sales books, and so that got me into a lot of like business development books. And then there were startups in the area because there's an incubator called Incubate Labs in Midland. And I was there all the time talking to the startups, and so I just saw it just all had to do with trying to take your buyer's journey and then like their buying process, and then taking your selling process and like putting them together, and then what are those micro moments that we can connect with them and help them get to the like that next step.
So what is the we talked about this a little.
Everybody treats it as a checkbox, but anyways.
They a little bit. We talked about this a little bit. Earlier. And what type of formal, and I'm using the word intentionally, formal education do you have for your field, and what's your opinion on that?
Okay, so formal. So I didn't do so great at high school, so I wouldn't count that. I went to a community college for 1 semester. I was taking 10 credits, dropped 7 of them to go work at the car dealership, and then kept 1 class for business law. So I have 3 credits to date. So in terms of formal education, that's it. But in terms of like courses and reading material, and even just trying to get in communities and see what's out there, would we include that in formal education?
Well,
or we call that more like self-educate. Like, what do you call it nowadays? I feel like it's a murky.
Yeah, well, to me, you're asking me. Formal education is like I paid money for credits and I went to the class and they formally taught me, and that's it. Because like continuing education, I'm huge on. Like you're posting a lot of books that are on my list, and you've shared a lot of books that I've read. Like I'm huge on continuing education. I think that should be like, and I get a bad rap because I'm pretty open about my opinion on formal education in college, but I highly support education. Like you shouldn't be
Mhm.
ignorant. So that's my definition of formal. And you mentioned, so you started for business law. So what did you plan to go for? Like, what did you like? Like, did you plan to do legal, or what was your plan with that when you
No,
started?
I was going for automotive marketing and management. That was just one of the classes that was in there. And it was the only one that I could keep with my schedule because I had to work. I had to be at the dealership from 8 to 6, and that was the only night class that was on my schedule.
So can I go? Can I talk just about sort of like you indirectly sort of hit something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners have come to realize in many cases. Like you were like, I took this class because I was busy working, making money, and at my job. And so like it was just fit. So it came down to make a decision of, do I spend money for the education and sacrifice my potential income? Like, was there ever a point in your mind, as like there had to have been, where you're like, why am I continuing to do this? When
Mm.
I'm gonna sacrifice my opportunity to make money so that I can not make money and in turn spend money for something that may or may not be in my field. Did that conversation ever have happen with yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So the way that I was, viewing things in life, you're trying to be resourceful, right? So you're trying to figure out, okay, what's the thing that I need to do right now to get me to the next step? And so, yeah, there's that opportunity cost. So like when I'm looking at okay, education wise, what do I need to learn, right? If you decide that that's what you need to do, if that's the priority to help you get to the next step, then you should be trying to figure out what can give me that benefit the quickest, and how certain am I that it's going to give that benefit. So for me, just because I was going in for marketing, right, which a lot of that is testing things to see if they're working right now or not. And a lot of things that work now didn't even work a year before. So when I looked at and started going to school for it, I realized that we're for marketing, right? If they're like a neurosurgeon, like I want them to have some kind of regulated procedure that they do. But like if it's marketing, and the teacher isn't actively marketing and keeping a pulse on what's working and what isn't, and then if that book, everybody's using the same book, and like that book had to be vetted and then put out like a few years later, and then when you spend all this time and money, and then you get out of school, and then they're like, okay, now go try all this stuff that like you've been looking at for like the last 4 years, like you're in a different market from where you were before. Like all the industries are going to be the same. Like I've had friends that got out of school with marketing degrees, and I'll ask them questions, and like a lot of them won't even know like what like Google Analytics is, which like if someone gets into digital marketing, like that's the basic thing that you need on your site so that you can understand people that are coming to their site, and they don't even know like what that is, and they're going for like big schools. So I'm like, okay, there's going to be probably some fundamentals and stuff that they can learn in there, but like you could probably take like a marketing 101 basics book, and take those fundamentals, and then take that extra money and go put it into courses for like what's working right now, and that might work out different for you. But again, that's just for someone who is trying to be resourceful and pursue a life purpose that is based on you standing out.
I think that's a huge, especially because marketing's like, you mentioned earlier, it's a sexy industry,
Yeah,
but
you're just testing things.
a lot
It's
of
just Mhm.
I'm just gonna see if this is gonna work right now. And
Yeah,
like,
the thing that you're testing could be sexy. That's like where it kind of gets different, or like how you perceive yourself as testing sexy things. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just testing. Like, a lot of times it's just does this headline connect with someone more than this one? Like, for example, someone could say that they are having, let's say for jiu-jitsu, like if you go out into a group of people and any market per se, you could go up to a group of people at the farmers market, and that would be a market, right? And then we could try to test that and say like, hey, like I can help you guys um, you know enjoy your day more, right? Let's say that was like version 1, and then as you get deeper into it, maybe you're like, hey, like with jujitsu, I can help it so that at your kid's birthday party, you get up out of the chair and you go hang out with them versus just staying in the chair because of all the hassle that you have to go through. Like, so stuff like that is really what you're trying to test and get skilled at.
Well, and so on the topic of that, like I think it was inevitable, right? We're gonna bring jujitsu into the conversation. So how has I see right away how it could benefit and crossover, but what role has jujitsu played in your business realm, career realm, that sort of trial and error, stage of what you do? Like, what role has that played? How significant of a role? Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I know that I figured this much out for sure, that you have to like maintain your momentum in life in order to kind of get what you want, or at least it's going to be way more difficult if you don't. So let's say, for example, if you're doing good in a situation, and then you're like, okay, now I can rest, right? You're basically just gonna screw off for a little bit. Or if you're doing good and then you get discouraged, then you might give up, right? So if every area of your life, if you have that going on, and not saying I did, but if you have that going on, that's gonna deter you away, right? So you're gonna need to like keep your maintain and regulate that mindset, because the mindset is gonna give you the perception of that's gonna decide how you act on that thing in front of you, or if you're going to act on it, like the urgency level of it. Are you looking at long-term benefit? Just like if you're, what reasons are you doing the thing for? Like that just changes everything. So you have to regulate all that stuff. And when you're in a position where, you're pretty much doing your own thing, you don't have that pressure for like maintaining. And that I wanted to have that, and even push it further, right? Like how do we push mental endurance further, and how do we get more quality out of our day? And so if I can be in that environment, and it also hits like my physical and like social goals, it was like hitting multiple things in one area. So if I can get that main benefit, that's going to pour over into the rest of my life in terms of like mental endurance, and then all of that, like that was a no-brainer for me. But then it turned into like a super awesome journey. Like you see, I have medals in the back. Like that was super fun, and then met a lot of awesome people. So that was the original reason. Yeah, but definitely got more out of it than I anticipated.
So you're actually like because we see a lot of people coming through the gym, and you're actually the minority. You knew I need to be in this, to be around this environment of people, because a lot of people, they're like, I want self-defense, and like, of course, self-defense, fitness, like without question.
No, I was there to get destroyed and tear down, like as a person.
Okay, yeah, you're the minority. Yep,
yeah, no,
yep. And did it? So I assume, did it deliver?
Yeah, for sure, definitely leveled up. I also like push. I also put a lot of like I'm like a really squeaky wheel, and I put a lot of pressure on the system to try to give me more of that as well. So I remember being in the beginning, being like, okay, in like 6 months, I'll be able to be decent of that. And whether I thought that or not, like because I felt like it was a possibility, even though it was really hard, like I tell that to people, and then like get people that would be like, no way, like you're gonna overtrain, or like low chances or whatever. So I like adding that intensity in. But yeah, going in, that's what it was, is basically to make it difficult for myself. So if I can go in and create people that doubt me, like that's like really good fuel from the get-go. So if you just add a little bit of that in, and then have that that was kind of the tone and environment I was trying to set for myself whenever I walked into it.
Okay, hang on. Wait a second. So you came into the gym, and you were like, you announced, you were like, yeah, I want to get, like really good, or at least like some solid fundamentals in under 6 months, and feel like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I looked at the welcome pack at Palm, and I looked at like the requirements to be a blue belt, because I was a white belt. And so I was like, okay, like it looks like if I go every single day for 6 months, I was like, I'm going to be a blue belt. And so I walked up to him, and I was like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be there then. I was like, it says 2 years, But so that was it. And then I did. And then I went every single day. I didn't end up being a blue belt because once I competed, I was like, okay, I don't really care so much about the belts anymore. Like I want to focus on the competitions. These are way more fun. But yeah, so I just wanted to give that expectation and then like hold that temperature, right? You're trying to set like that temperature in that area.
That's fascinating. So how long were you a white belt?
Would have been, let's see, if I were to join, it would have been like a year and 4 months.
Okay.
Because I got my blue belt at nationals, and then I started in February of the year before.
Gotcha. And so now was there like, so you mentioned you quit caring about the belts after your first tournament.
Mm-hmm.
What changed in your mindset?
Well, because if I'm like trying to race through the belts and like begging to get the next belts, like I'm not going to do that good in tournaments. So like I'm just going to like let the belt thing happen on its own, and I'm just going to focus at like winning tournaments. Because standing on the podium, like the belt's sweet, right? But like standing on the podium is way cooler because belts, like people change all the time, right? Like you might be like, right, like you might be a blue belt one day you walk in, and then like a purple belt the next day. But like if you can be like, hey, like I competed with the best in this group, I don't know, it's just a different feeling. It's just a different feeling.
Yeah, I always say tournaments don't lie. You know, tournaments don't. Well, the best.
You're winning. Like the belt isn't really winning.
Yeah.
Like there's no bracket, right? It's all to a degree. You know, like you're gonna get it at some point, but like not everybody can win.
Yeah, well, that's valid, and I always remind our team as well. I was like, guys, like, there's 5 belts. Like, don't be in a hurry. You know, first off, don't be in a hurry because like you're gonna get a little discouraged. But like don't be in a hurry because you get to like a point and there's only so many belts. And then like and I tell everybody, how would you feel if I like just threw a black belt around your waist after 6 months? You magically better? You got like superpowers? There's something like in the belt that like like no. So just be the best grappler you can be for however long you've been training, and I, of course, personally, tournaments are the best way to gauge that. Like the best grappler doesn't always win tournaments, like some people don't compete well, but it's at least a gauge, like it's creating a format, similar age, size, weight, like the rank, and it kind of lets you know where you're at. And I don't want anyone to pull punches. I want to know, like, if I'm below par, I want to know that. If I'm doing okay, I want to know that as well. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I knew obviously you were a very fierce white belt competitor. But I didn't know you were like, yeah, I'm gonna get my blue belt 6 months. That's
yeah, that was like week 1. I was like, I already know the recipe for success. All I got to do is like maintain myself, show up all the time, try to figure out at all times like what's the priority challenge, like where's my biggest weakness, and trying to always focus on that. So it like how hard something is like shouldn't matter at all. That's the weird point. Like I don't think how hard something is should matter because like there's lots of hard things, and it's more like just like figure it out and go for a path, and then just believe in that and then get cocky about it.
What was Coach Carl's response when you said that?
I think he said that I had to have the practical ability. So he's like, you may be here for that amount of time, but I don't think you're actually going to be that level. Which is fair. Like, I love how he's straight up with things. Like, that's like a big reason that I go there is because I like getting that just straight up.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't mince words.
But you don't realize it. Like everybody that starts is still going to be about the belt. They're going to feel that for a little bit. You can't really. This won't. I don't know if this will change anybody, and that's just starting out. I think you have to learn that one the hard way. That might just be me though. Like I'm pretty hard headed sometimes.
I mean, to me, it was so far. Like it was so far off. Like because my goal was black belt. Like like I was.
Yeah.
With
me too. I was like, boom, this is the beginning of a journey to get this accomplishment.
Yeah, my goal was black belt, and to me, it was just that was it. There wasn't like I didn't set goal like first goal is blue belt. Like no, my goal is black belt, and like all the other belts were semi negligible, within reason. But like, and then you get a stripe. It's a good feeling. But I was never, now granted, how old were you when you started training?
It would have been. 24.
Okay, so I was 19, and like the 19-year-old David is might as well have been from another planet than who I am now, largely due to jiu-jitsu. But like, like I just didn't set goals like that. I was like, I knew I would get a black belt as long as it takes. I'll get there, and it doesn't matter. But like a lot of people, like I was talking with Coach Muhammad about this, like they're asking about the belts, and I was like, guys, like you're doing everything right. Like like there's just some things that take a little bit of time. Like like that. I don't know any other way to. I don't know any other way to do that.
You want to know what I bet this is? This could go into a marketing thing too, right? So a lot of times marketing is putting something out there that shifts their paradigm, right? Like if you can do that, all of a sudden now you're a thought leader to that person.
So how would you shift I'm glad you brought that up. How would you shift? How do you come up with content or thoughts or topics to shift someone's paradigm?
Good question. Okay, so throughout the day, there's different things. So throughout the day, I'll have like a Google Doc open on my phone, and I'll just be like putting down topics, like any thought that I have that comes in, and then later when I need to go write, like I'll just look at that and pull a situation out of that. Because what you're doing, you're taking out, okay, what's the problem or situation here? What's the lesson? And then you write like a story around it, something that's compelling them, right? So you do that, and then for like business wise, let's say you take your let's say we're talking to you want to find a specific kind of jiu-jitsu student, like what's the mistake they're making, right? And that might even be they're thinking a certain way, like what's the mistake they're making, what's the pain of making that mistake, what's the solution, and then like what's the benefit. So if you can help them just see that other side, like that has to do with mindset again. If you can be around something like that shifts that, like all of a sudden you change your approach. And I mean, that's pretty much what most things are. If you look at principles of things and laws of physics and whatnot, if you can just change how you react to things and what you do with things, like that's just the equation of what you get out of it.
I will compliment you. Your stuff is very well written. Your copy is
cool.
Very
Thanks.
like, and I see a lot of copy, right? Like I see a lot of copy, and I'm like, man, that's a good hook. Man, that's it. Like it's well written. It's engaging. Like even and there's like I had no idea. Like when I heard like what first a copywriter was, and this is all like pretty technical, but like I heard first what a copywriter was, I was like, what, like a copyrighted logo? Like what do you like? And then it's the person who just writes things to keep people engaged, because like we're talking about videos keeps people's attention, and but text. Like I can't even get my wife to read some of the stuff. I was like, hey, can you read this for me? Because like my grammar is garbage. But like and she's like, she's got about. I got to get her in a paragraph. If she reads a paragraph, I did a good job. People don't want to read. So but yours is well written. So
do you want any tips on that?
How'd you learn? Yeah, how'd you learn to write so well?
Okay, so I mean we'd have to do like a whole nother podcast in and of itself for like a full how'd you get there. But I mean if we look at so conversions, right? So the name journey convert, right? So you have someone's journey that they need to go on to take a step that you want them to take, and then convert means that they take the step that you want. So if we're looking at like you want someone to continue reading, so let's say you make like a long post, right? And you have a call to action at the end where you're asking them to take a step. You have to get them to that spot, right? So like those first couple lines only sell a couple other lines, and then those lines sell a couple other lines. So like you have to continually be pulling them through to get them to the bottom by building. You can think of almost like a emotional arousal to a degree, but something that's compelling to them and is hitting a point that they have in a moment that they resonate with or is interesting, and bringing them to that point where then you can even give it. Because if you're not just selling them to that point, you can't. So it's like calling them out. A lot of times it'll be like making sure that, so in the first couple of lines, maybe it says something about like for me, it might say something with websites, right? So like people with websites, like, okay, now that's interesting, but you have to use those first couple ones to get them to click like see more, and then get them to continue reading.
It's
So
like,
if you could splice, if you could like outline it, you'd have to be like, okay, this has to be a hook that's into here. Like if you were to be like, okay, every single piece of this is like a series, and each like portion is like a Netflix episode. Like you have to sell each next episode, or like it's not gonna work. Like they're whatever point like they stop getting sold at, like they leave. So you have to bring them to that, and then that continues through the entire journey has to convert across each point, and there that's
it's
that's what
like
you need.
Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs. Like, here you go. Like, I got you. You know, this will get you to the next one. This will get you to the next one.
Mm-hmm. A
And
lot of it's like we call like pill pocketing. So essentially what that is do you know what, have you ever heard of a pill pocket? Like it's for like a dog. Okay. So if you try to give a dog like tell them, hey, like take your medicine, that's not like if you have a pill for them for whatever reason, like they're not just going to take that. They don't like them. So a pill pocket is this cool little pouch that's designed where you put it inside and then they eat it and it goes down great. So you give them what they want, right? And what people want is to feel, and then you sell them that and what they need together. So you have to do that along the way to take them where they want.
gotcha. And that's the you know, that's the trickiest thing. That's probably the most exasperating. People are so fickle. They're so, and you going back to your testing of like, let me test this and see what works. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, with you being in marketing, like that's got to be. I'm sure you know your insights, your demographics, you know what they look like, and like I'm just like, man, you know, like it can almost.
I'm not even focused that much on demographics. I'm actually, demographics are more like can they do it or not, and then psychographics, like their interests are can they or not. So that might even be like, you know, are they a good fit? Like it's not always about trying to find people who can. It's like who are the people that you want?
Gotcha. Sure.
Like who's ideal?
Sure. The so you mentioned how did you're huge on mindset. You kind of mentioned a little bit in the beginning. I want to go back to it just kind of briefly. You're like, people tend to, depending what hand they get dealt, they can go one of two ways, right? So if they do something, let's say they're doing well, you know, in whatever industry, and you're like, cool, you know, like I can take it easy for a little bit now, or they that's one natural inclination. The other is you're getting dealt in maybe a garbage hand this time around, and like just it's too hard, I give up. You know, both of those are common mindsets. And so what do you do? Like, what do you do, or what advice would you give to somebody? Because I agree, like what got you here won't get you there, and you need to stay stimulated. You actually, it's still wild to me that you knew jiu-jitsu would do it, having never done jiu-jitsu before. But like
Oh, I listened to a Jocko podcast that may have helped a bit.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. So but you knew like I need this constant stimulation of you know, promoting me to growth. So what advice would you give to somebody to not fall into those pitfalls of a less than ideal mindset?
Okay. So yeah, so I would say that like you have to, the biggest thing is like noticing where you're at, like in the moment. So like, and then, you know, you have to be committed to dealing with it. So if you let's see, how do we word this? So you basically have to decide like, what are you going to do when certain situations happen like ahead of time? So like what are you going to do with your losses? Like if that's you and that's how you approach life, and like things aren't happening like how you want, like to a degree, you know, everybody, like nothing's really happening exactly how people planned. You know, it's all this weird like pathway to kind of get where you want. But you need to realize like what are you doing? So like the next time that you come, like, right, this is what, 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. So like whoever, all the people that are watching this, like the next moment in life that you have, like what do you do with what it's giving you? Like if you can take that, so like if it's a good situation, right? Okay, you realize that now you're in a good mindset and you have momentum, which means that if you go tackle something else right now, like you're in a way better state to be able to do it because of your level of confidence, right? And then if you're like, okay, something just happened and now I'm in like a crappy state, and then if you let that become a trigger for you to create a habit of you doing, you know, something that's seeking comfort, like that's just what you're going to do. And like if you were to like define like what you want in life and then be like, okay, who's that person? You know, are those things in there or not? And then you got to make the choice of what do you know, are you going to be the person, which means that you have to make the hard decisions in those micro moments. this life journey.
I could not agree with that more. In fact, I made a video about that a while ago. Like it was just everyone's got they've got this picture of what they would, and mine was more like traumatic moments, like someone puts a gun in your head, and we'd like to think we're going to react a certain way in whatever convictions that you claim to hold.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be.
That's like people thinking they can fight, and then you watch the people. Anyways.
Yeah, but I cannot agree more. You have to make that decision ahead of time. You just have to. Because if you wait till the moment comes, and then whatever you're emotionally feeling, I don't personally like. I'd like to think I'm not emotional. I don't want to be driven by emotions. I still do sometimes, ask Amanda. Mm-hmm. I want to dictate my actions and not let them sort of be, tossed around by whatever emotional feeling I'm feeling.
Yeah. And then speaking of that, like let's hack it a little bit more. Okay. So we look at like Zig Ziglar and stuff, right? And he's teaching you like how to be good in the moment, but like how do we strategically do that? Okay. So there's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. I wrote about it for a little bit. It's actually super good. So let's say for example, you can like hack your emotional state and then go into something. So let's say that I'm going to go write a post and I'm not feeling in like the best mood, but like I can go and relive like some kind of jujitsu moment, right? And then bring that into there, and I'm in a different state because of it. Or you can like front load. Okay, so let's say that you're like, okay, this week, right? And planning is huge. Like my month, week, and days fit together like a puzzle. They're all connected. So planning goes along really well, and it's like strategic is not that good of a term, but it's like it's connected, so it works a lot better. It's less just like shooting. Man, I got taken off by that. What was the question again?
Well, you were talking about psychocyber. You can hack your emotions.
Oh, yeah. So if let's say that you're planning like, okay, so for this week, I don't know what some like result that you would want to have is, but let's say right, you have like, so for me maybe it's like, okay, I need to have like I need to get like 2 new clients this week or something, right? If I can do it, we're like, okay, like the first day, like I'm going to try to get one super hard that day. That's going to make the rest of the week perceivably better, right? Mm-hmm. So like, what are you doing to put yourself in that state where you're the most effective? So if you can like narrow down that zone where you're just a beast when you're in there, like how do you maintain that and put yourself there as much as possible?
I think it's, what's it called? It's peak performance state, right? Peak performance state. You can actually.
Is that a book? If so, I think I have it.
I think it might be.
It probably is. Probably is one. Might be different though.
There's you mentioned like you can trick your mind into feeling a certain way, and the reason you do that is because I fully support that. By the way, if I'm feeling like I'll I have a certain playlist. I have a competition playlist. I've got like whatever I'm gonna do. And because your mind can't differentiate reality from fact from fiction, and just take like there's this whole you can go into like if I mention the word Robitussin, okay, some people can actually taste it when you mention it, that's like, or if you go into describing like a real juicy orange, like you'll actually start to salivate, right? No, there's no orange in the room. So if you can trick that, I think that's a huge like that's like an even like someone watching this who's never done it, they're like, this is like voodoo they're talking about. But you can't do it, right?
I mean, dude, we're made out of chemicals, right? So just like make yourself a thing that it reacts differently when something goes in there. Like if you have that ability, like dude, it's a game changer if other people are not even realizing it and letting it affect them negatively. Like you gotta learn, you gotta hack that.
I agree with that. That's I didn't even plan to pick that up. I thought I was like one of the only people who do that. I was like, I'm feeling garbage. Let me get out of this muck. So what are your go ahead.
I was going to jump in for a second because you said that. So I was going to say before when we were talking about, because it's interesting that everybody's focused on black belt, right? And you were like, hey, I thought I was the only person that thought that, right? And that's because like you don't see more of that. So if we put out more of like tournament focused and like life focused to some degree, right? Like you might be able to actually like change it and attract those people. And because otherwise other people are like, oh cool, it's just like a black belt. But like if they don't care about the black belt, and if that like level of ego that it gives them, like if they're not looking for that, like then all of a sudden you lost the people that I might actually be the right people because you're not showing the things that they would actually want.
That's it.
Like that's where they would experience the value. But if they can't see that that's where they get that, and it doesn't resonate with their situation, then like it's not going to work.
That's a good point.
You're not going to compel them. You're not going to sell that next step.
So what are some of your, I think we've covered a few of them, but what are some of your keys to success? You know, or you can,
I mean, that's hard because like I don't feel like I'm like a successful person like that, where that question should be asked to me. But like I guess right, it'd be like a subjective thing. Like for me, I guess like for me, like I am successful in my own like subjective definition of like where I'm at and like what I've been through and what I want in life. So I mean, let's see. So keys to success. I mean, you have to basically decide what you want. Like that's an obvious one. Like you have to be super crystal clear in it and have your, it's super corny and this sounds like cliche, but like you have to have that why. Like if you don't have that reason, then you're going to basically be miserable. So you got to find out what that thing is. And then once you find something that has like value in the world, then just like you basically just make that what you do and just like listen to what you want. Right. But it depends. Like what I want aligns really well with what kind of the world has set up in terms of like being able to live versus like if you're going to do if I were to choose to do jujitsu full time, like it might not have a lifestyle that I want. Right. So you got to find like what's that equation that gives you the life that you want. And then like how are you going to get there? And just don't ever think that it's just going to happen. Like you basically have to make it happen. And like take that responsibility on yourself. Otherwise, you could just like look back and be and regret all the actions that you could have taken, but you weren't even, your mindset wasn't set to going there. It was set to being like reactive.
I think it's very important to one day I'll find out how not to have my phone notification. But I think it's even put on do not disturb.
The side button, dude. The side button.
I tried this. I think it's very important that to you mentioned you're like, I don't feel I'm successful. Well, because everyone's definition of success.
It's constantly changing. Like I'm like, if I was like younger me, I would kill to be where I'm at now, right? But like if I'm looking at like overall, like where do I want to be at? Like no. But then like even where I'm thinking like next level because I have it defined, right? Even once I hit then, like I know that target is going to move, and that's a big deal too. Like, okay, so your target is important. Like if you're feeling like uninspired, or like let's say that you hit that goal once, you might not realize it, but your target not being big enough, like it needs to be moving. Like that might be a reason that you're not happy or not inspired or not like you don't have like a big fire, is because the target that you're going for isn't life changing, and that's what you need.
I would agree with having something to shoot for is key, but also like it's very a lot of people like they don't really know like their definition of success. For instance, like I've got I'm one of 5 kids, and each of us have like might as well be 5 different humans. Well, we actually are 5 different humans. No, but they've got like our lifestyles are so drastically different, but each of us have a different, like I couldn't, if I paid them a significant amount of money to train jiu-jitsu a year, they wouldn't do it. Like they would be miserable, if I even, could do so.
The recipe is like the equation's like inside you. A lot of life, I feel like it's just figuring that part out.
And that's the trickiest part. You would think, and that's something honestly, like it's something I've been struggling with,
it's marketing, man. You just gotta test it. Like everything's testing.
Well, I guess you could. I had this conversation I was talking with my sister at length. We stayed up till almost 1 a.m. last night around the fire, and she was like, how did you know jiu-jitsu was it? And I couldn't really give her an answer. I was like, I tried to quantify it a little bit. I was like, but at the end of the day, it really just felt right.
Because it's the vehicle.
How I felt when I left jiu-jitsu is exactly how I wanted to feel and I wanted to do that as much as I possibly could, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like I understand my thing, my why is jujitsu. I'm not going to fit a square peg in a round hole, you know. Like that's your why, your definition of success could look completely different. And if that means, here's the key, like if that means like, you know, you hear successful, you think like $1 million a year. If that means you're making 50 or 60,000 and like you know, you've got a 9 to 5, but you like what you do and like you get 2 weeks vacation, like you're winning. Like that's okay. Like that, you can win that way. You know,
Yeah.
like
I still say try it. Because people will zone in on kind of like the lifestyle that they want or how they want life to be and what they get. But like, even once you get that, like you should still figure out, okay, what would make this better? Like what would make life, like how can I squeeze more of this and make like every day more rich? So like if you get to that level and like you're at that spot, like great, like that's gonna solve it. But like put yourself around more stuff that you want better, and like everybody wants to engage with life at a deeper level. So it should almost like never stop. There should be a degree of being somewhat unsatisfied and wanting something deeper, like at all times.
I agree. I agree with that. It's that balance of contentment
Mm-hmm.
and drive.
Because I think growth actually, like experiencing moments of growth is like very fulfilling.
Sure.
Like being content, right, gives you like that gives you that's like a good like mindset that gives you a good base to be able to interact with things. But you need both.
So the next question is, let's see what we got here. What made you go into business for yourself? And was there a turning point in your career that made you go into business for yourself?
Good question. So let's see. I mean, when I was a kid, I was always trying to start businesses, like doing like lawn care businesses, try to program video games, clothing companies. So I think it was just like, I think I don't. It's kind of like always been something that I've wanted to do, but it's because it's something that grows. So like, I love like momentum and looking at like compound interest. Even like, so if you're like, you know, if you're listening to music every day in the car, like subconsciously that music is going to do something to you, right? But if you're listening to like audiobooks or podcasts or something, like that's going to subconsciously you're going to get benefit out of that. So I mean, business is really the only thing where you can do something in business and like you can keep growing the momentum. Because like if you're going like, you know, you have a job here and then like you have a job here, like you're not having any momentum that's creating an impact, versus even if you start it on the side and you're just growing it small over time, like you're doing your thing and growing it, and it's how you want. So, you know, principle wise and where it's going to grow and the vision that you have, like you get to have that on your own. So I think it's just cool to have something that's making an impact, and like gives people opportunities, and it just happens to end up being businesses. That's what you call it, I guess. That's just the word that we came with.
They did, and you can answer this honestly. Like for me, did working for others, or maybe just like, did any of your past employers influence or push you to work for yourself just out of frustration, difference of opinion? For me, it definitely did.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, a bigger portion. So, one portion that you're probably not expecting me to say is actually sitting, like when we're sitting around with people, like I hate hearing other people like complain about things. Like it puts me in this mood, and I like, dude, I can't do it. So like I'm trying to be growth focused, and so I'm trying to go read books and have other people do big things in life, and it just was like I wasn't always finding people that were pursuing things super hard. So the environment wasn't it felt like I wasn't as effective as possible. It's almost like if you're going to school, right? Like you have to go with the course at like you have to go at their pace. You have to do it in the order that they want and go the pace that you want. And like if I don't believe that that's like the best thing for it, like I have like an internal struggle. And so like that's a big thing. So if I'm looking for growth and then I take ownership, like personal ownership, and then Um, yeah, if I take personal ownership of the business and all of a sudden like it I don't like how things are run or I don't think it can get the biggest benefit, like that's an issue and like I have to acknowledge that in myself. So yeah, people just do things differently. So it's okay though. Just I like to grow faster. I like to be more ambitious. I like to do things just different ways.
That for me, that was like one of just, and I'm not like saying any of us wrong, but for me, it's sort of when I worked.
And other people love it. Like if you love it, like great. Like people, those you are needed. Like you are so valued and cherished.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we need both, right? But for me, it was like if I just see something being done, and I was like, it's not the way I'd be doing that, Like, and for me, it's like I like the freedom, the ability to make those decisions, and the thing is though, I'm willing to take the consequences too, like because like I can be like, oh well, I'll do this better this way, and then it comes back and like just it's an epic fail. I was like that test failed. Like, okay, now I know, but at least like, the freedom to try it rather than like, here's your box, stay in it, don't go outside of it. I was like, that to me, it was like, man, I don't like it. And I never liked it, And
yeah, it's usually where the side business came in to use that as an outlet.
Exactly. So, something you did in your career that made like a lasting impact. It really could be anything. It could be taking the plunge, going to work for yourself, but something that made a lasting impact.
It's a lot. It's a big question.
Well, let me go. Let's come back to it then. So
okay.
If you've got like, because I worked with. I've got a deep heart for like young adults, what I'm calling like high schoolers, college age, and they're in like a really really pivotal moment of their life, right? Like so they can choose. They're choosing their career path. What advice would you give to them? Give to them on how to choose it and the best way to go. How to really find their why.
Yeah, I would say the first thing is like to understand there's a pitfall that just picking something because you feel like you have to and trying to be like, okay, what should I pick? And having that mindset is going to like screw you up years later down the road. And there's like so many people that you can see that are in that situation where, they just, they live for the weekend and it gives them the lifestyle that they want. And like, they drink when they get home from work. And it's just like, I just didn't want that. And like, that's what a lot of people are. So I'm like desperate to not have that no matter like what the cost is. But yeah, a lot of it's going to be just like, what do you want to do? Like what impact do you want to make? What do you like? Like, have you found anything that you like that people want to pay for? Like, are you doing this just for money? Like you might be going, it depends on what you're going for. Like if you're, what do you want at that moment? Some people want to go and travel and explore and like, sweet. Like if that's you, like go do your thing. There is no like, whatever anybody else says, like shouldn't really matter to what you want. Besides if you're causing harm, like obviously that's a given, but
of course.
Yeah. Like if you want the college experience, like I had a friend and we kind of like parted ways in friendship and like I chose this path and like he wanted the college he wanted the college lifestyle, and so I'm like, cool, you do you, I do me, and like that's if they want that, and like that's them. Like he probably wouldn't have been happy doing the things that I was doing, right? So that doesn't mean that it was right for him. So like that it's just hard. I can't even tell them. Like I would have to sit down to tell them like what they should even consider trying. But I would say if you don't like if you like if you have an idea if you want, just figure out that path and go for it. And if you don't, like just talk to people and try a bunch of different things. Like go try a bunch of things that you think you could do and like see which one like resonates and then decide, do you want to do that as a career? And then, maybe pick like I'd say no matter what you do as like a career, you should probably have a side gig in this day and age if you can. It's a huge advantage.
Well, I would agree with that. And,
that's a lot. That's a lot for people just starting out.
Well, I think they need it though. And we were having this, conversation. I had this conversation a lot, like young adults. Okay, when you're 19, and I say this as my old age of 30, but like when you're 19, like you don't realize how young you are. Like you might as well, I've only got 10 years, 11 years on them. You might as well be a baby. Like you're at such an age of, I'm about to turn my phone off, man. But you're at such an age when you're expected to make a permanent life choice, and you're expected to make a permanent life choice at 19. And to me, like, I think it's like you said, a lot of people choose something just to choose something, and then they end up with, however many tens of thousands of student loan debt, and then they
yeah, so much debt.
Yeah, and then they're spending a couple decades paying it off. When in reality, if college was your course, it's not gonna hurt you to start at 22 or 23 and like make for real sure. If college was your course, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Take a breather, and that's probably not the advice parents necessarily want to be hearing, because because it's all, I believe it's like keeping up with the Joneses. Jones is like, because you're being pummeled. At least we were in 10th grade. Like, you got college reps coming in. Like here's.
Okay. Remember how earlier I said that I walked in and I was like, kind of like trying to set the tone that I'm going to be good in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Well,
so I try to hack that with college as well to like a degree. So I'd ask all my friends' moms, parents, not just moms. That sounds funny, but I asked them all, do you think college is necessary, right? And they like all said yeah. They were like yeah. Without college, you can't think a certain way and all this stuff. And I'm like okay, cool. And I just put that in my fuel storage. And just try to do that for everything you can.
That's it. That's a good hack your emotions though too.
Yeah.
Pull it out. The more I talk about this, the more I want to make 2 fake resumes. Like I want to make like a real resume of what I've actually got, and then I want to make like a fake resume like with the degrees, and see how good John Smith can get a job without a degree, and see how good John Smith can with a degree.
That'd be it's a pretty complicated test to run, but
yeah, well, I guess it would depend on the field you're going for, but I think by and large, I think it's going to be worth doing.
Submit like 100 of each and do like a report of it.
Yeah, right. Or just go live. Yeah, I'm not reporting anything, but we document the whole thing because we talk about it, and I'm like, man, I just hear I hear it, and
well, if they call you in, you just be like, nah, it was fake.
Yeah.
Unless it's fraud at that point, then never mind. Don't take my advice on this.
I'll completely shave, do it once, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's huge. So, do you have anything to add? So let me actually put your stuff here at the bottom. What's your website, Nate?
So you could do natemorse.com, or there's also journeyconvert.com. You could do Journey Convert, I guess.
Convert.com.
Or maybe Nate Morse would be better, because I'll put you can go to more things from there.
Gotcha.
And then also just LinkedIn and Facebook are good too.
Morse.com. So it is, so you help them, you've got a personal site as well. No, I don't want a ticker.
Yeah, I'm going to update it to be more Journey Convert focused.
Gotcha. And so that's where they can go. Now, is there any...
if you're actually going to put Journey Convert, you should put journeyconvert-journeyconvert.com if you're going to do it like that.
Gotcha. Journey Convert.
Sorry to make you change it so many times.
That's okay. So what, now is there any type of business or prereqs that a business should meet before reaching out to you? What should they expect? I mean, do you do free consults, free, check out their website and see what that looks like?
Yeah, we do like a conversion audit on what they're doing. I would say, ideally you would want to have a decent amount of traffic coming to your site, or be spending a decent amount on ads. So at least spending a couple grand or more a month in ads, or probably get 10,000 or more website visitors. That's for our most ideal client. If it's just strategy and you have some big thing, if you want to set up a system where your Facebook or LinkedIn is reaching out to 100 people a day and autopilot it and do all that outreach and stuff, we can talk about that too. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, if you have a website that gets a lot of traffic, a decent amount, or you're spending a lot on ads, those are the ones where we can help you get a lot more of your ROI.
Awesome, brother. Well, Nate, I appreciate your time, man. These are
Yeah.
always, they can reach you. We'll tag you as well on socials. And then I hope that we'll have to go a little bit deeper more into your, I really like, we'll talk more about your mindset, your psycho-cybernetics, changing your emotional state. Cause that stuff I really dig. It's like
Yeah.
Dead Eye Mind to me. So
As long as you're applying it, right? It feels good to read it and whatnot, but you actually have to like apply it.
sure. Of course. Thank you so much, brother. We'll talk soon. And if you guys need someone if your website needs help converting people, you got a lot of traffic, maybe you're blowing money on ads and you're like, why am I doing this? JourneyConvert.com, they can help you out. Thanks so much, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, David.